Bro, what up, Hacks? First, I want to know a little bit further about whatever my boy Diddy's got going on. Well, he's not my boy. I shouldn't say that. But apparently this whole Diddy thing is even crazier than I thought. So let's sit back. Let's enjoy it, huh?
To accuse Sean Diddy Combs of abuse, sex trafficking, drug possession.
Let's sit back and enjoy it a little bit. Can you guys hear it okay?
The government is getting involved and promising to bring down the rap mogul's alleged criminal empire. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime.
All right.
I'm Jesse Weber.
Let's see how crazy this is, bro. From what I heard, something about 1,000.
The office is determined to investigate and prosecute anyone who engages in sex trafficking, no matter how powerful or wealthy or famous you may be.
I like that guy.
No one should doubt our commitment on that.
Damn right.
Talk about a day in the legal and crime world. And today,
What's up, Jesse?
it all centers around Sean Diddy Combs. And all of these details and filings.
Now, see, before I start going into deeper in this, like I heard something about like 1,000 pounds of baby oil. What is that true? Is that, I hope they talk about it here because I kind of want to know. Like, is it 1,000 pounds of baby oil? Like, that's a lot of baby oil.
Criminal case, and we're going to break it down for you right now.
Thank
give you everything you need to know. So, the Southern District of New York is promising justice for multiple victims.
Is he something? Is that a cavity? What is that? I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Say that rapper, producer, businessman Combs used his power, influence, and wealth to intimidate them into doing his bidding, whether that was obtaining drugs or performing sexually or cleaning up after apparent sex acts. Now, we've, of course, been reporting on Combs for months here on Sidebar. In November of last year, Cassandra Ventura, Cassie Combs' ex, filed a huge lawsuit against him.
Oh, it's because they got in a fight. Yeah, that was an insane video, bro. That was an insane video.
Before she was finally
sad.
able to get away. Now, Combs denied everything she had to say in her filing. He settled the lawsuit with her just one day after it was filed, but we know that set off a chain reaction.
Damn.
Multiple other lawsuits against him and even against his son were filed.
That's his
alleging
son?
Sexual abuse, sex trafficking, illegal narcotics possession, violence. Then, in March of this year, Homeland Security agents, they show up at Combs' home.
I know this might be sidetracking. This might be sidetracking. But that thing, I don't even know what that is, bro. That is badass. That thing right there is badass. Like, if I ever had the money to drive that around, like, as my daily vehicle, I really, really, really might get that. That thing, okay, continue on. Is that a Ford? I think that's a Ford. Right? Just the mirror. Is that a Ford? Oh, all right, I'm sorry. Continue on.
In both Miami and Los Angeles, search warrants in hand, they raided both locations, seemingly collecting a huge amount of evidence, which we will get through in a moment.
Right.
And we learned at the time that this was connected to a sex trafficking investigation out of the Southern District of New York, but we didn't know all the exact details. Well, you fast forward to this week, and Combs was officially arrested Monday night at the Park Hyatt Hotel in New York out in Manhattan. According to his defense team, he had been booked there since September 5th. That was nearly 2 weeks ago. And he was in town in anticipation of the charges being filed.
Oh, so he was already in jail?
Because now that Combs has been arrested and charged, he says this is an example to show he's not a flight risk. He's been cooperative. However, when U.S. Attorney Damian Williams, again from the Southern District of New York, held a press conference and was asked about Combs' cooperation in this case, he seemed skeptical.
Let me just say this. I think that generally with increasing frequency, the word cooperative or cooperating has taken on tremendous elasticity and no.
Hey, the fact that that guy said that word almost correct, I think he got like 99.99% of that word correct. I like him. I like this guy.
Really bears any relation to what the word means when we use it in a very specific context. So responding to lawful process and the like does not qualify as cooperation when we use that term here.
By the way, as we sort through all these legal filings around Sean Combs, and
I need to start talking like this. Could I start talking like this? Like, what do you guys think about that?
To tell you guys about something positive. Yeah, something that I think you're actually going to really love. Would you want cash back when you buy gas and groceries? Because if you do, that's where our amazing partner and sponsor.
Okay, buddy. All right. Enough.
Indictment against Sean Combs. Okay. So, Prosecutors filed documents in federal court that lay out the accusations against Combs and his associates. Although, to be clear,
I don't really ever know what a Diddy song is. What best Diddy song? I Need a Girl. Oh, yeah, that's that. Okay. I know that song. I'll Be Missing You. Okay. I Need a Girl. That's the only song I think I know.
Combs is the only one named in this filing for now. He faces 3 charges: racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion, and transportation to engage in prostitution. Now, during a hearing on Tuesday, Combs entered a not guilty plea to every charge. And
I know last night, I don't think I do. Maybe if I heard it.
Combs faces a minimum of 15 years in prison with the possibility
a minimum for all of that?
The 54-year-old could spend the rest of his life.
He's 54? Hey, black don't crack. There ain't no way about it. Oh my God.
That's what we're
I don't know he's 54.
Here. So we're going to break down each of these counts for you, as well as more on why Combs says he should be allowed out on bail while he waits trial. And let's start with the indictment. It's 14 pages, jam-packed with information. I want to hit the highlights. So first, right out of the gate, the government lays out some pretty damning accusations. Quote, for decades, Sean Combs, a.k.a. Puff Daddy, a.k.a. P. Diddy, a.k.a. P. D, Love, they, throughout the course of this indictment, refer to him by his many monikers. The defendant abused, threatened, and coerced women and others around him to fulfill his sexual desires, protect his reputation, and conceal his conduct. To do so, Combs relied on the employees, resources, and influence of the multifaceted business empire that he led and controlled, creating a criminal enterprise whose members and associates engaged in and attempted to engage in, among other crimes, sex trafficking, forced labor, kidnapping, arson, bribery, and obstruction of justice.
What? Jesus Christ, bro. Like, he has millions of dollars. Like, you can, what are you doing? Like, that is absolutely insane. Like, that's not even the tip of the iceberg, bro. Like, what? I caught that guy in a very bad lazy eye, and I truly apologize. Continue on.
Racketeering conspiracy. So the main idea here is that there is a criminal agreement, an agreement to engage in racketeering. And racketeering is when there is a criminal enterprise, it's like organized crime, a grouping of people who break the law. They commit crimes. Now, it doesn't need to be Sean Combs Breaks the Law, LLC. You don't need an official company. Just an organized group of people, organized crime. And a criminal enterprise is supposed to have a common goal. So whether it was
I just don't understand it. Like, what's the point? Like, what's the point? The dude is the POS. I agree. The devil doesn't care about money. Absolutely. Like, I can't fathom, or I can't really wrap my head around why would you do this? It's insane to me. Like, you have all of this money and all of this success and you want to be a gangster? Bro, it's 2024. I just don't understand it.
Was to benefit financially, whether it was to satisfy Sean Combs' sexual desires, whether it was to protect him. There has to be a common goal in mind. We saw this, we're seeing this actually, I should say, in the Young Thug trial out of Georgia. Big thing for the prosecution is they have listed a number of different crimes. They're trying to say this wasn't done in an individual capacity, but it was done to further that gang. Similar idea here. Okay. Now, also, as you're going to see here, in a racketeering,
I think the only gang I would ever do, right? If I was ever in a gang where I started a gang, it would to beat the living shit out of pedophiles. I truly mean that. Like, I would get the gang to beat the shit out of pedophiles. That'd be my gang.
Case. There are numerous predicate crimes. These are underlying crimes that Combs is not specifically charged with, like arson or kidnapping or forced labor. But they are crimes under the umbrella of the larger criminal enterprise. By the way, I should tell you, the racketeering allegations that we see in this indictment are very consistent with the allegations put forward by Rodney Little Rod Jones, Combs' former producer.
Who's that?
Who was one of the people that filed a sexual assault lawsuit against him and said there were violations of racketeering law. In fact, although no one is specifically named in this indictment,
Okay.
you can kind of see who those alleged victims of Combs are, their allegations, that they were the basis for the charges here, especially Cassandra Ventura. Because
okay.
we all know that when that video back in 2016
That's the video. That's a
was
crazy
released,
video, bro.
by CNN a few months ago of Sean Combs purportedly beating Cassandra Ventura.
Beating's an understatement, dude. That guy is such a piece of shit for that. Like, oh god, this guy this guy deserves to be thrown in the whole world to see,
and he apologized for on Instagram. That is mentioned specifically in this indictment. Now, reading from the indictment, it says, quote, the defendant and others, known and unknown, participated in unlawful and other activities related to the conduct of the Combs Enterprises affairs. These individuals included certain Combs business employees, such as members of Combs security staff, household staff, personal assistants, and high-ranking supervisors, as well as other close associates of Combs. Now,
Like
one
what?
of the most startling examples of Combs' alleged control over those around him came from the description of apparent sex parties called freak-offs. This is something that Ventura and others alleged in their lawsuits. What are they? Well, the indictment says Combs and other members and associates of the Combs enterprise wielded the power and prestige of Combs' role at the Combs business to intimidate, threaten, and lure female victims into Combs' orbit, often under the pretense of a romantic relationship.
Oh no,
Combs then used force, threats of force, and coercion to cause victims to engage in extended sex acts with male commercial sex workers that Combs referred to as, among other things, freak-offs.
Okay, I'm sorry to pause it here, but I got to look up what the word corrosion mean. Corrosion. C-O-E-R. C-O-E-R-C-I-O-N. What does this mean, bro? The practice of persuading someone to do something by using... Oh, okay. I probably could use that in context. Now he's on suicide watch, but his team says he isn't suicide. Okay. They might have seen his ass.
Were elaborate.
They might.
Produced sex performances that Combs arranged, directed. I'm not going to say the next part. Basically, pleasured himself during and often electronically recorded. In arranging these freak-offs, Combs, with the assistance of members and associates of the Combs enterprise, transported and caused to be transported commercial sex workers across state lines and internationally.
Jesus, bro.
Freak-offs occurred regularly, sometimes lasted multiple days.
Days?
And often involved multiple commercial sex workers. So
days?
Kind of a flavor of the sex
Did he say
trafficking
days? He said,
a
let me read that clearly here. Multiple. Wow.
Later. During freak-offs, Combs distributed a variety of controlled substances to victims, in part to keep the victims obedient and compliant. Sometimes, unbeknownst to the victims, Combs kept videos he filmed of victims engaging in sex acts with commercial sex workers.
Oh my God, bro.
After freak-offs, Combs and the victims typically received IV fluids to recover from the physical exertion and drug use. The indictment then provides more details about what Combs expected his employees to do before, during, and after these sessions.
Now, Combs did not do this all on his own. As I mentioned, Combs has been charged with RICO conspiracy.
Yeah, they gotta get everybody, bro. They gotta get everybody, and they gotta release that list, the Epstein list, bro. We gotta figure out who the fuck these people are, bro, and take them out back and might go all yonder on their asses, bro. Like, damn, what the fuck?
He used his business
What up, Golden?
and employees
Hey,
of
how was
that
your night
business
last night,
and
brother?
other close associates to get his way. Those individuals allegedly included high-ranking supervisors in the business, personal assistants, security staff, and household staff.
I think the most fucked up thing, though, the most fucked up thing is were they thinking that this was okay? Like, like any normal human being would be like, yo, what the fuck is this, right? Like, I get money changes people, but like you being moral in all of this, bro. Like, I just can't wrap my head around someone being like, oh, I'm Diddy's assistant and he's doing this crazy shit. I don't understand it, bro. Like, how could anyone, like, he had to, like, either scare him or they fit like the mold, bro. Like, oh, it's so fucked.
The indictment alleges that those individuals
Remember
facilitated
Pizzagate?
the
Yeah, I
freak-offs.
mean, who doesn't remember
They booked the
Pizzagate? That shit's
hotel
crazy.
rooms and stocked them with the supplies, including drugs, baby oil,
What?
personal lubricant, extra linens, and lighting. When the hotel rooms got damaged, they helped clean it up.
What the?
They arranged for victims and commercial sex workers to travel for the freak-offs, and they delivered large quantities of cash to Combs to pay for the commercial sex workers.
What?
According to the indictment, in or about March of 2024, during searches of Combs' residences in Miami, Florida, and Los Angeles, California law enforcement seized various freak-off supplies, including narcotics and more than 1,000 bottles of baby oil and lubricant.
1,000 bottles of baby oil and lubricant? 1,000 bottles? What the fuck were they doing? A slip and slide like that? What the fuck? How many ounces in a baby oil bottle? Bro, they had 14,000. 14,000. How many pounds is 14,000 ounces? Nah, just tell me, bro. Come on. Water, fluid ounce, 14,000. Convert. They had almost 1,000 motherfucking pounds of baby oil? Oh, hell nah, bro.
Wow, you talk about physical evidence here.
That's
to
insane.
prove these claims. Now, federal prosecutors allege that Combs used the threat of violence as well as actual assaults to keep his alleged victims in line.
Oh, man.
The indictment reads, quote, Combs maintained control over his victims through, among other things, physical violence, promises of career opportunities, granting and threatening to withhold financial support, and by other coercive means, including tracking their whereabouts, dictating the victim's
Jesus
appearance,
fuck, bro.
monitoring their medical records, controlling their housing, and supplying them with controlled substances.
So that makes sense on why people were like thinking this was okay, bro. Like he was either promising the world and he didn't give it to them, and he was just threatening them to the point of fear, bro. Like, oh.
During and separate from freak-offs, Combs, among other things, hit, kicked, threw objects at, and dragged victims at times by their hair. These assaults often resulted in injuries that took days or weeks to heal. Combs also threatened victims' careers and livelihoods, including if they resisted participating in freak-offs. So a majority of that indictment covers that first count, racketeering conspiracy. Now I want to talk quickly about the other two counts that he faces.
Okay.
So count 2 is a charge of sex trafficking of a victim by using force or coercion or fraud to have that person engage in commercial sex acts that are either for money or something of value is promised or given. And there were allegations that Combs had made promises of opportunities and so forth to get what he wanted. And he's also charged with count 3, which is related to the transportation of people for purposes of prostitution. Now, quick side note about this. This is a comprehensive indictment, but it doesn't have a lot of details about
I don't want to know the
evidence
details, bro.
prosecutors have to prove
They're
all
gonna
of
have
this.
They're gonna show it out one day, bro. But
every
I don't want to know.
allegation that has been asserted against Combs in numerous civil complaints. For instance, there is nothing regarding minors. You know, there's been a lot of allegations that there were minors at these Combs parties.
I fucking hope not.
We've heard before in these other allegations and these other complaints. Nothing about minors here. Now, Damian Williams, the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York, said that it's possible more charges could be on the way. He wouldn't confirm it one way or another. Said nothing's off the table, so we don't know. But maybe there wasn't enough evidence to prove that there were minors at these parties or Combs did anything criminal related to minors. But I tell you what, we did get a lot more information from another filing from the prosecution. I'll get to that in a second. First, I have to get to the defense because in a letter filed with the court on Tuesday.
I mean, how can you defend against that, bro? Like, let's find out.
Combs' defense team laid out a proposed bail package for their client, why he should be released pending trial. And they explained why his actions over the last 6 months point toward cooperation, not avoidance. They also call out the government for seemingly making things more difficult than they had to be. His team writes, quote, Through counsel, Mr. Combs promptly told the government that he had voluntarily come to New York, offered to tell them specifically where he was, and offered to turn himself in at the appropriate time. Even though Mr. Combs came to New York, authorized his lawyers to tell the government of his location, and offered to self-surrender, the government effected an arrest last evening. This, we know, is the government's right. However, that he traveled to New York to self-surrender is also something the court should consider.
No.
So what is this bail package that the defense outlines?
Let's hear this out.
Here's some of the main points. One, a $50 million bond co-signed by Combs, his mother, his sister, the mother of his eldest daughter, and his 3 adult sons. That $50 million would be secured by the equity in Combs' Miami home. The appraised value of that home on Star Island is $48 million. So in other words, this is what he's saying. You can secure this. You can know that I'm not going to flee the country. I'm not going to...
He's giving up a house. He's just giving up a house, bro. Like, what? You're giving up a house, but you have all these crimes against you that are insanely fucked up, but you're giving them a house. No.
Break the bail conditions. I'm putting this home up. The defense says that Combs paid off the remaining mortgage, $18 million, so he could use it to secure a bond. The equity in his mother's home in Miami could also be used as collateral. And the letter goes on to say that Combs' travel would be restricted to the Southern District of Florida.
No way, bro.
Of New York. Combs apparently surrendered his passport to his attorneys right after the raids on his home, and several of his family members, including his children, have surrendered their passports too.
Nah, like, it doesn't matter, bro. You obviously are a multi-millionaire with tons of money. You're going to try to go to Miami. This guy would run away. Like, this guy is going to be gone. He's going to be goodbye. Now, I know, spoiler alert, that he didn't, the bail was denied clearly as it should have been. But this guy's giving up his house, his mama's house. He's giving up his kids' passports. What the fuck? And his mom's house. Exactly, D-Rock. Like, that's insane.
Combs' counsel says he is currently working on selling his private plane, so he wouldn't be able to just jet off to some exotic locale that has no extradition with the United States. In the bail package information, it's also revealed that Combs wants to be under house arrest and would agree to GPS monitoring. The letter from Combs' attorneys also fires back at the assistant U.S. attorneys working on the case, saying they reached out to him in the days before the raids, but never got any reply. And then on March 25th, agents swooped in with a big show of force, which the attorneys insist was unnecessary. The filing also goes into Combs' philanthropic works, including his work with the Boys and Girls Club of America, his donation.
That's even so more, like, fucked up. Like, he's working with these kids. Like, you don't know what that could have led to. That could have led to so many other things, bro. Oh, I don't even want to think. Like, it's making my stomach fucking churn, bro.
To open a charter school.
Let's not forget he had Biggie and Tupac killed. Fuck, motherfucker stole great music from us.
Fundraising to get PPE for frontline workers during the COVID-19 pandemic. At the end of the document, the defense team states Sean Combs has never evaded, avoided, eluded, or run from a challenge in his life. He will not start now. As he has handled every hardship, he will meet this case head on.
Or hard on.
He will work hard to defend himself, and he will prevail. Now, the prosecution had a different view. So the prosecution team also sent a letter to the judge defending their assertion that Combs should be locked up with no bail.
Let's see if they cook here. Let's see if they cook here.
As reflected by the gravity of the charges in the indictment, the defendant is dangerous and poses an ongoing threat to the safety of the community. If released, he remains a serious risk of flight despite the conditions offered by his counsel. Most glaringly, the defendant also poses a significant risk of obstructing justice.
Yeah, like paying off the witnesses, paying off people, threatening people. Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. Good job, prosecuting team. I think I said that wrong.
The letter also goes into more detail about some of those specific situations that Combs was allegedly involved in that point to the lengths he would reportedly go to get what he wanted. For example, quote, the defendant ensured the victims would participate in freak-offs through coercion and violence. For instance, the defendant provided controlled substances, including ketamine, ecstasy, GHB, to female victims so that they could and would continue to engage in freak-offs despite fatigue, physical and emotional exhaustion, and pain.
That's so what the actual fuck? I am just like out of words, bro. Like, what the fuck?
Additionally, both during freak-offs and separate from freak-offs, The defendant subjected female victims to physical, emotional, and verbal abuse, in part to cause them to engage in freak-offs. The defendant hit, kicked, threw objects at, and dragged female victims, sometimes by their hair. At least a dozen witnesses will confirm that they personally observed the defendant's violence towards women and or the injuries sustained by women at the defendant's hand. Now, back to that 2016 video that I mentioned of Combs allegedly attacking Cassandra Ventura out in L.A.
What do you mean allegedly, bro? What do you mean allegedly, bro? Like he beat her ass. Like there's no other way around. Like he physically, we all saw the video, brother. What do you mean allegedly? Oh.
They say in this letter, prosecution, they claim that Combs used money and influence to try to keep that video from getting out. Quote, when a member of hotel security staff intervened, the defendant attempted to offer their hotel security officer a stack of cash to ensure his silence.
Be honest, though. Be honest. Would y'all have taken that stack of cash if you're working for hotel security? Would y'all take that bribe? That's a tough question to answer, brother. That really is. I know a lot of us go through hard times, bro, but can we be moral? Can we be honest, bro? Like, is that worth it or nah?
After the security guard refused the defendant's bribe and after
he's a better man than I am.
after coordination between the defendant and his employees, the defendant's staff contacted other members of hotel security. Within days of the incident, the surveillance video disappeared from the hotel's server. Now,
I know he did it. I knew that security guard did it.
This is the exact allegations put forward by Cassandra Ventura, which makes you wonder, is she one of the cooperating witnesses with the government? You have to believe so. And clearly, there is something to be said that the prosecutors here are believing the account of Ventura and possibly these other alleged victims.
Yeah.
It's not just them filing a lawsuit against Sean Combs. They are believing these allegations to substantiate criminal charges. That's big. Now, the letter also references another alleged incident that was first revealed in Ventura's lawsuit last fall when she alleged that Combs set fire to fellow recording artist Kid Cudi's car when he seemed to show interest in Ventura. According to
not my boy Kid Cudi. What the fuck? Did I miss this? Where was I at when this happened? What the fuck?
the filing, quote, in the early morning hours of December
2011. I was a freshman in high school, bro.
December 22nd,
That's where I was.
2011. The defendant and a co-conspirator kidnapped an individual at gunpoint to facilitate breaking into and entering the residence of individual one. Multiple witnesses would testify at trial to the events surrounding the kidnapping and break-in, the latter of which is corroborated by police reports and other records. Approximately 2 weeks later, the defendant's co-conspirator set fire to individual one's vehicle by slicing open the car's convertible top and dropping a Molotov cocktail inside the interior.
Jesus Christ,
Police
bro.
and fire department reports extensively document the arson and conclude that the fire was intentionally set. Multiple witnesses would also testify to the defendant bragging about his role in destroying individual one's car. So again, prosecutors really taking Cassandra Ventura's allegations as true. And again, while he's not specifically charged with arson, that is a part of the racketeering charge. Goes on, the prosecution, they raised concerns about Combs' access to weapons as well, especially firearms. The letter includes photographs of weapons found in Combs' homes. Again, this is all the reason why they believe he should be denied bail. In March of 2024, during searches of the defendant's residences in Miami, Florida, and Los Angeles, California, law enforcement seized firearms and ammunition, including 3 AR-15s, each with defaced serial numbers, as well as a large-capacity drum magazine. As pictured in a close-up image, the serial number of one of the AR-15s is visibly bored through. By the way, that in and of itself is a federal crime. We did an episode about the recent potential shooting of former President Donald Trump. That individual is charged with that crime.
That guy.
The filing goes on to state, quote, 2 of the 3 defaced AR-15s were found in the defendant's Miami bedroom closet, stored broken down in parts, along with magazines that were loaded with ammunition. In addition, 6 legally purchased guns with serial numbers, some of which were stored in gun safes, were recovered from the defendant's residences. Now, from there, in this bail letter, Combs is also accused of trying to influence witnesses.
I knew it! I knew it!
Following the November 2023 lawsuit, the defendant and intermediaries acting on his behalf reached out to potential victims and witnesses to the alleged conduct, including individuals he did not speak to regularly and had not spoken to in years, to attempt to feed those victims and witnesses false narratives about the defendant's criminal conduct.
Right.
For example, on or about November 19th, 2023, just 3 days after the filing of the lawsuit described above, this is the Cassandra Ventura one, the defendant made multiple calls to another victim of his sexual abuse and recorded certain of those calls using the cell phone of a co-conspirator.
Jesus.
During the calls, the defendant repeatedly asked for the victim's support and friendship and attempted to convince the victim that she had willingly engaged in acts constituting sexual abuse. The
what
defendant
the
also
fuck?
assured the victim that if she needed the defendant to, she ain't got to worry about nothing else. Quote, even more concerning since learning about
That's
the criminal
insane.
investigation,
This is
including
insane.
following the execution of the search warrants at his residences, Combs contacted other witnesses on multiple occasions, including other witnesses who had received grand jury subpoenas.
This
basically accusing them of
fucking guy,
obstruction.
bro.
By the way, the prosecution also points out that many of the crimes that Combs is accused of happened in his home. So putting him on house arrest, they would say, doesn't do much to mitigate potential wrongdoing inside his residence. Now they talk about the weight
I
of
like
the
it.
evidence.
These guys
how much
are-
they
these
had.
guys are
Remember
thinking
I said there
logically
wasn't
here.
a lot in the indictment? Well, here they talk about the weight of the evidence as a factor to consider in whether to deny bail. Quote, as to witnesses, to date, the government has conducted interviews with over 50 victims and witnesses.
50?
Many
50? Oh, Jesus. God, it doesn't get any better.
of whom saw or experienced the defendant's abuse. Many of these witnesses corroborate one another, and their accounts are consistent with the other types of evidence discussed below. The government only expects that number to continue to grow, given that the investigation, which is now public, is ongoing.
Right.
And also, the prosecution revealed in its filing that the government has seized more than 90 cell phones, laptops, cloud
Jesus
storage
fucking
accounts,
Christ, bro.
hard drives, thumb drives, cameras, a surveillance system that they say shows this criminal activity. So based on that, we can assume that the evidence the Southern District of New York has against Combs is likely vast. Quote, the
Yeah.
evidence also consists of physical evidence, which was seized pursuant to search warrants executed at the defendant's residences in Los Angeles and Miami, as well as on his person and the persons of certain co-conspirators. In addition to the firearms and electronics discussed above, the physical evidence also includes other evidence of freak-offs, including over 1,000 bottles of baby oil and personal lubricant. Pretty
Bro, that's literally almost a ton. A ton of baby oil and personal lubricant, bro.
disgusting. Now, the prosecution ends their letter to the judge by saying, quote, there are no conditions of bail that would
Yep.
assure the appearance and
Yep.
compliance of the defendant or the safety of others. Accordingly, any application for bail should be denied.
Couldn't agree more.
A year ago, Sean Combs stood in Times Square and was handed a key to New York City.
Oh, shit.
Today, he's been indicted and will face justice in the Southern District of New York. Second, we are not done.
Excuse
This
me?
investigation is ongoing.
Oh, okay.
And I encourage anyone with information about this case to come forward and to do it quickly. Anyone with information can call 1-877-4HSI-TIP. I want to express my deep appreciation for the victims and witnesses who have used their voices and helped bring this criminal conduct to light. We would not be here without them.
So what happened? Well, there was a hearing in front of the Honorable Robin F. Tarnofsky, a magistrate judge from the Southern District of New York.
Okay.
And arguments for and against bail were put forward by the prosecution and the defense. And remember, there is actually a presumption of detainment in this case. And the judge reportedly said that after listening to all the evidence, that the presumption has not been rebutted, meaning that Sean Combs is denied
Good.
bail. He must
Good.
remain behind
Good.
bars. She
Fuck that
reportedly
guy.
said there was a significant amount of violence and weapons. There was the allegation of coercion of witnesses. And even though she seemed to thank his family for coming, she cannot release him at this time. Now, we
Good.
will, of course, keep you updated on any and all developments in this case of Sean Diddy Combs as it inches now even closer to a criminal trial. All right, everybody, that's all we
Yo, shout out freaking Law and Crime Network, bro. Like, just what the, like, I don't understand, bro. Like, you have all of this fame, all of this success, and you go fucking crazy, bro. Like, 1,000 bottles of baby oil. You have 50 victims. And you're fucking, I am baffled. I'm sick. Like, Jesus